everybody. This is Jeff, your host for Let's Talk About It. Thank you for joining me. I've got the chat open for comments. If anybody's watching, you want to make a comment, go ahead and just post a comment, and we'll pick it up and talk about it and do all that stuff. I have a very good friend. She's my host, my guest today. Her name is Elizabeth, and I've known her for, I don't know, somewhere, I don't know. It's been about 10, 15, maybe 15 years. How I met her is because she's always looking to serve others and to help people. At one point, she was doing food that had a shelf life of 25 years. I still have. I have everything that I got from her. She gifted it to me, if I remember right. She has done several things to be prepared for a disaster, the food thing, and then she called me about a year ago about this frequency stuff. And she was very excited about it. And I thought, okay, well, what is this? Because I had a little bit of a inkling as to what frequency, quantum frequency was all about. But I hadn't heard anything about frequency scanning. And so I looked into it. I didn't look into it right away. But when I did look into it, I went, holy smokes, are you kidding me? And then I read something where Einstein actually said that this is going to be the way of the future when it comes to healing people. Now, we can't claim any kind of medical healing or anything like that. That's not what the show is about. We can't do that because by law, we can't claim that this is going to make a difference. What I can say to you is that there's a whole lot of people out here where this has made a tremendous difference. I hear the testimonies all the time, and I just know there's alternative things out there that are more natural than natural even, that we need to learn about. Tonight, we're going to be talking about frequencies. I'm going to do a follow-up show next week with a person who's going to, she actually uses this in her profession. And that's something that's going to be powerful because both Elizabeth and I are learning how to do this. Elizabeth's way down the road from me as how all this works. She actually put together a website which has an extensive amount of knowledge on it. And we're going to talk about that as well today. So without further ado, let me bring in my guest, Elizabeth Smatlak. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Hi. Okay, so just for the sake of those people who are going to watch this or are watching, give them a little background about who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I live in Gig Harbor, Washington. And I've always been interested in natural health and healing, and how I actually found out about the Smatlak quantum frequency scanner is my cat was sick, really sick. And a friend of mine from church said, well, I can scan your cat. I said, what do you mean scan my cat? And she said, well, I have a quantum frequency scanner. And I tell you, the light bulbs went on because I'd been interested in quantum frequency for years, probably 10 years before this. And I heard bits and pieces about quantum frequency, but I never had a venue to actually explore it. Well, she came over and scanned my cat, scanned myself. And I said, I want in. I want this. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And so I got the scanner a year ago in February. And I've been exploring it ever since. And it's just been just absolutely mind-blowing. The depth of what this company has done, what they put into this scan is really pretty exceptional. From homeopathies to tuning fork frequencies to just everything. And so that's how I got started. And I started scanning people, scanning my family, scanning myself, and then realized there was so much information that could be overwhelming. I started putting it together in a website. And so I pretty much done with the nuts and bolts of my website. And to be able to help train people in this and to be able to use it in their homes. So that's how I got started.
Let me ask you a question. Let's talk about your cat. You said she came over and she scanned your cat.
Yeah.
What happened to your cat?
Unfortunately, my cat was like a week out from dying. And it was too late to help her.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I never knew that. You never told me that.
That's how it happened.
Okay.
So I always bless my little Maddie because she was one that kind of led me into this. You know, she was my little sweet tortie cat.
Okay, so I'm sorry to hear that. I did not know that. I think that's the first
Yeah,
time you mentioned that to me.
yeah.
You've been scanning yourself. Have you? Do you have anything quickly that you'd like to say about what the effect it's had on you?
Well, it's been very subtle. I can't say it happened overnight. The first thing I noticed was my sleep was better. I had just had chronic insomnia for years, just chronic. It just, I'd have a good night every now and then. And after about 3 weeks of running the frequencies on myself, I noticed it was only rarely that I had a bad night. And that's been the same ever since I've had the scanner. And I wear a little bracelet at night where I'm in bed sleep frequencies into my bracelet, and I wear it at night. And sometimes then I'm running scans through the night, sending frequencies to myself for different things. If I have an upset stomach, or have a cold, have a cough, I can run these frequencies for myself, and starts dealing with some of the imbalances that are going on in my body.
When
And I
I
think,
when I well when I had my teeth done and I had the surgery and I asked you to go ahead and send some
mhm,
scans to me, um, the pain subsided. In fact, folks, here's the medicine that they gave me to take for pain because I had massive surgery down on my lower jaw.
yeah.
All of that went away within as soon as she started scanning me. I, I I still got a whole bunch of these because I didn't take them. I didn't need them. But anyway, we're going to jump right into a lot of technical information, and folks really going to want to know about all this stuff and learn as much as possible. Uh, let's start with your website. What's it called? We're running across the bottom here.
Frequenciesmatter.com.
Okay. Now, why did you put this website together, Elizabeth?
Well, first of all, frequencies do matter to our health. And so I chose that name. And I put it together because Solex the company I work with, has a website, and then they have another website, and then there's YouTube videos, and then there's practitioners that do independent YouTube videos. And it was just a lot to learn. I didn't have a lot of training myself, so I had to dig my own way through it. And I thought, I don't want people to have to go through that. And so I started putting the website together, consolidating all the information, and it's growing all the time. I'm adding more things all the time. And that's the reason I did it, because I really want to get this into people's homes so they can use it. And I want the average person to be able to use it very simply, or for a practitioner to be able to dive deeply into it and go further. And so that's why I put the website together. And I had a website once before, and I had the tools and the skills to do it. So I thought, why not? So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
this is a business for you as well, and you
Yeah.
scan people, and we can talk about that towards the end of the program. But
Mhm.
this is actually a business, and you're scanning and you're sending frequencies and all these different things that this Solex has, created to people around the world, really. But for the most part, you wanted to consolidate all the information so that when people did scan, they could go to your website and get the information in one spot, so to speak. It's a great website, by the way.
Thank
There's a
you.
lot of information on it. Now,
Yeah.
we're going to get into exactly what this means, and I'm going to let you kind of take it from here. And I've got a flow chart here, some of the stuff that you wanted to hit on. Take it away. Let's see what you got.
Okay. Well, like I said, frequencies do matter to our health. We're energetic beings. Every cell, organ, emotion, hair particle, everything that we have has its own unique blueprint frequency. And this can be all mapped out. It was all mapped out. People have all these frequencies mapped out. And when that's how God made us. God was the one that invented these frequencies. and
Right.
and so when we get into stress and illness and environmental problems, maybe trauma, our frequencies can be distorted, just like you in a radio. If you have the tuner off, it will be distorted. And so when we have these frequencies off, we can fall into illness and disease. But this can all be restored by tuning us with the correct frequencies. And so this is what Solex has done. They have cataloged over 120,000 frequencies in their system. And it's a software system. And you can just use it to start sending balancing frequencies, blueprint frequencies to your body to balance out the emotions and balance out the imbalances in your body. So basically, that's where the thought leaders for years, like Einstein, and you can bring up this first slide, Einstein and Tesla and Royal Rife have used frequencies. Einstein said future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. And that's what we're seeing now. Frequencies are used every day in medical practices already. You know, an ultrasound, MRI, that's all frequency, biofeedback. And now it's starting to become more commonplace and more available for just the average person to use it to start bringing balance. So
you talked about Dr. Emoto, and why don't you explain a little bit about him? Because I'm familiar with his work as well, but let our audience know what exactly he did.
Dr. Emoto, this work is just incredible. He actually took water samples, and then he spoke words to the water, or he wrapped words around a glass of water. He froze the water samples, and then after freezing them, he took the water samples out and examined them under a powerful microscope. And he found that the water samples that had words spoken to, or actually words even wrapped around the glass, that were positive, they formed beautiful crystals like thank you, wisdom, truth, I love you. But the water samples that had words like Hitler or hate or war had distorted crystals. And this just really proved that water has memory. Water is affected by frequencies and sounds and words. And what are we? We're 60-80% water. And so our water in us can have this memory and can actually pick up the frequencies. That's how it's done. It's very, very simple. Not simple,
I want to chime in on this because I watched Dr. Emoto a long time ago, and he was playing classical music. And he showed the samples of how classical music was soothing, and then he played hard rock, acid rock. And the water crystals were angry. They were distorted. It was ugly to look at them. You didn't even know you were looking at water crystals. So that it was dramatic. I mean, it was really dramatic. So I think about all the music that we listen to and that we take in, and how some of it literally distorts the frequencies in our bodies and causes a lot of chaos and turmoil with our makeup. So that was very interesting. I'm glad you mentioned him. You also talked about tuning forks.
Oh, yeah. That's basically, we're tuning forks. So when you think of it, if we're off balance, let's say I'm a liver cell tuning fork and my liver is off, the frequencies are off in it. But then we have a blueprint frequency with the correct frequency and start hitting that. This will start vibrating. Our distorted liver cell tuning fork will start vibrating with the correct frequency. And that's how this biofeedback frequency works with the Solex scanner. Solex has the blueprint frequencies over, like I said, over 120,000 frequencies of emotions of our cells. And so we just listen to this. Our body is fed that. We don't even have to hear it. The frequencies can come through and actually help send signals to our brain, so our brain can start rewiring our distorted frequencies. It's neuroplasticity. This is how our brains work.
It's interesting. People, what she's really saying here, we wouldn't have known about this if we didn't have the digital age. So thank God for God's digital age, because Elizabeth, I could be on the planet Jupiter and Elizabeth could start running a frequency scan. And we're going to talk about that specifically for me because of what there's process to create that. And I'm going to get those frequencies on the planet Jupiter. Yep. And I've actually tested this in a different format, but it absolutely worked. I tested it from Puyallup, Washington to Japan and to a good friend of mine who lives in England, and it made a difference. So when we're talking about quantum frequencies, we're not limited by space or by time. This thing is it's gonna zero. It's just like this. If you're in a hotel and you have to use the key, the little card key, you press against the door, and then the door opens, and now we're doing it with our bank cards and whatnot. Well, when you press that key, how come it doesn't open up every door on that floor? Because the frequency is tuned to that one specific door, and that can be programmed, and that's what we're talking about today. So now, Elizabeth, with the tuning forks, you keep mentioning that Solex has over 120,000 unique blueprint frequencies. Can you explain to the folks what we're looking at? Kind of, sort of, whatever. Give it your best shot.
The thing is, if you want the truth, I still don't have a clue how quantum frequencies work. I just know they work. And I don't have to know. I just have to use the system. The system does it all.
But with this particular image that Solex puts out, it's showing you how these things, if you notice down there, you've got the alphabet, C number D. This is a frequency that they figured out. And I don't know how they did it either, Elizabeth. I have no idea. But these are things that are attuned to your body. And when you do the scan, your body now becomes a registered thing within the system. And it's going through your body and scanning you and seeing what's out of balance. And then you get a whole printout of everything. And I got to tell you, folks, when this was done on me, and there's a section where it deals with your emotion, and it nailed my childhood emotional things that happened to me. They were out of whack, but it literally told you what those things were. I was stunned. And when I did it with my wife, when I showed my wife this and scanned her, because I have all of the equipment too, and I'm going to be scanning people as well, my wife was shocked. She was blown away. And again, when we're talking about this kind of stuff, a lot of the things that throw our body out of whack, not just the chemicals in the environment, the foods that we eat, but our emotions play a huge part. Is there anything you want to address about that?
Well, it's even medical science basically saying so much of our disease are based in our emotions, and stress in our worry affects our gut, anger affects our liver, grief affects our lungs, and we don't know that we live on the subconscious level. We have a subconscious thought, and maybe only 5% of our conscious thought is conscious, and the rest is subconscious. We are running at this level, and that's where we get stuck in life. I think that's what's so. I think this is where it's impacted me so much. It's helping me get unstuck from years and years and years of subconscious programming, from things that happened to me when I was a kid. Nothing horrible. It was just nothing, or disappointments. And so we keep on playing these same loops over and over and over. We're in a deep groove, and our body, just as a way to preserve energy, we're confronted with something in our life, we immediately go into that groove for survival. And because that's been embedded in our subconscious. And so much of what we run off is our emotions and our feelings rather than consciously. And so it's really important to be able to untangle these things. And we can do it through neuroplasticity by reprogramming our subconscious, our emotions with the frequencies, with affirmations, with the Word of God, with different ways like that. But it has to take a conscious choice to move forward. That's why, this is not a quick fix. It's a tool to use so that you can get unstuck in your life emotionally. And then also, if you have something going on, there's hundreds and hundreds of frequencies in the system, homeopathic frequencies, and mostly homeopathy is frequency medicine anyway. And it has hundreds of homeopathic frequencies that you can scan yourself. Let's say you have an upset stomach, you can go to symptoms and you can click the symptoms, scan yourself, and it maybe has a list of 6 recommended homeopathies. It will scan you, show you the top priority, and then you can send the frequency of that top homeopathy either into a substrate like a bracelet, a glass of water, a homeopathic sugar pill, and or broadcast it to somebody. It's just amazing.
That kind of blew me away, folks. When Elizabeth, when we've sat down to do this, now I have the equipment. I purchased the equipment. This is a business to help people. So I have all that stuff. I took a leave of absence for a little while because of a lot of things that I was going through. But when I sat down with Elizabeth and she put this thing on top of basically like an iPad, she turned on the scanner and the frequencies were now transmitted from the device into the sugar pill. And I was like, okay, really? Or she took my wedding ring and we put that on the scanner and it scanned the frequencies of, I can't remember how all that worked, but I wore this ring for a couple of days and it had the frequencies, the homeopathies, the medicines based on frequencies in my ring. I think it lasts for like a couple of days. It's not, in perpetuity, but I was like blown away that we could do this because I've seen the same thing done with what's called frequency cards. So I understand the technology as far as why we would take your ring off and scan these frequencies, these homeopathic frequencies, homeopathies, into my ring that would help me sleep better. Okay. Or help for me, if I remember right, it was acid reflux. Okay. And sure enough, it made a difference. So I know, okay, here's the problem. I'm going to hit a touchy subject here. And I'm going to do a show next week. We're going to have Dawn Nelson on. She does this for a profession. But also I'm going to have a guy named TJ on. We're going to talk about why you buy cereal from your kids. And we're going to talk about why there's so many chemicals in your food. And we're going to talk about why all of those things are happening and you're ingesting all of these chemicals and process things into your system. There's a reason that's happening, and it made a lot of people rich and it raised up industries, but it's killing us, okay? So we're going to talk about that a couple of shows down the road. Anyway, Elizabeth, when we're talking about the Solux catalogs, how does the AO scan work?
Okay. Well, first of all, you don't have to have a device. So if somebody's thinking about, gee, I'd be interested in this, but I don't want to buy a bunch of equipment. All you need is a very current cell phone or with a capability to be able to run the software or a tablet. And what happens is you just usually use a brain conducer headset that you can get from the company. You speak into the device for 10 seconds. You can say, I am Elizabeth Smatlak, and gee, the weather is really icky today, or whatever and if you try and make your voice happy or sad or whatever, it doesn't work. The scanner can read what's going on. We carry our emotions, we carry our frequencies and our voice. This is how the lie detector tests work. And so basically with that 10-second voice clip, it actually records what's going on, scans you over the thousands of different things in your body, your emotions. It then compares it to the blueprint frequencies that are in the software. And then it turns around and sends you balancing frequencies right there on the spot where it's sending signals to the brain to start bringing into the balance. My favorite, there's several modalities in the scan system, and my favorite one is inner voice. Inner voice is the one that deals with our emotions, and I think that's the most important one because of the root of so many of our illnesses are our emotions. But it sends you then, after doing the scan, a report of 4 different profiles, emotional profiles, some where you're overexpressing emotions, some where you're underexpressing. And then it also gives you an MP3 to listen to that you send an email and you listen to this and it starts bringing balance in. And it also can take, you can, because the reports show you what emotions are off balance, it also shows you some of the physical consequences of this and where it can be lodging in your body. And there's many other scans in this, but that's the basic one. So it recognizes what's going on, it compares to their blueprint, and then it transmits the balance.
Well, I want to mention too, when you see the actual printout of your body, it's going to show you, it's going to go through every part, your eyes, your liver, your bone structure. It is what it is. And we don't have one of those images, I don't think. But it's either an outline of a human body, male or female, and then it goes through and it scans all your frequencies. But while it's scanning you, it starts restoring the things that are out of balance. So after about the third scan, it has a pretty good fix on you.
Takes a while, yeah.
And now you've got a blueprint of actions that you can do to correct the things in your body that don't require synthesized pills, that don't require petrochemicals with the side effects and things. It's just activities that you can do now based on what you're looking at to begin this process in your body of correcting frequencies that are out of whack. Elizabeth, you said something very interesting, because that's so true. If you're tuning your radio and you don't get it quite on the right setting, the right radio frequency, it's all distorted and whatnot. People don't understand when you're carrying a cell phone, for example, on your person, every frequency in your body is being distorted. Every one. I actually proved this to a couple. I went to go get my phone done. I had to get a new phone right here. And I went to T-Mobile and I showed them, I have a EMF frequency thing on the back of the phone here. I forget what it's called. And so I showed the kid how this worked. And there's a demonstration you can do. And he was like, wow, where do you get one of those? So you don't understand, your cell phone is producing so much electromagnetic radiation. And you become a lightning rod for all of the radiation that is being produced. And this is just the way our world works now, because everything is electronic. I'm sitting in a room full of electrical stuff. I turn on my little candle, or I've got one of those salt lamps, because it actually kills the electromagnetic radiation. I can't say that. But anyway, we don't understand the technology, and we don't understand how our frequencies are being disrupted. Solex has come out with a way to begin to bring those back into balance. And I don't have to be a medical professional to scan you. Yep. That's the nice thing about it. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, Elizabeth, if you could?
Well, I'm not. I've been interested in nutrition, but there are some practitioners that are using this in their business, as you're going to have an interview next week. And they have all the knowledge of what everything means, but we don't have to know what it means. We just have to receive the frequency. And that's how I use it. I also use it simply. I think when I get somebody started, I mostly concentrate on the inner voice and have them listen to their music. The frequencies are embedded behind just a song. You can choose your song, and then you listen to it maybe for 10 minutes, once or twice a day. And this starts bringing you into balance. But there's other modalities in here, like affirmations. Now, we all know that if people want to use affirmations to start getting their thoughts right. Biblically, so what we think on is what we become. But affirmations are hard for me. I'd try affirmations and 5 seconds later go squirrel, and I forget the affirmation. There's a
I knew, folks, she lives in an area where she's got a lot of squirrels running around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the way I am, my attention span. But this awesome scanner has a modality called MindSync. where you can read scripts into the system, positive for health, evening affirmations, morning affirmations, prosperity affirmations, health affirmations, and you can read this into the scanner, into the system. The scanner records it and sends you an MP3 so you can listen binaurally where you're hearing your own voice saying these positive things, getting you moving forward. You can do a whole script of Bible verses if that's what you want, and to listen to the Word of God in your own voice going into your subconscious, and it's ways to move you forward. With the system has tuning fork frequencies where you could hundreds, it actually several dozen different tuning fork frequencies where you can use the little transducers and listen to it rather than buying the tuning forks. And there's these tuning forks have used the solfago frequencies that show that it can affect your emotions and your health and your and stress levels. I mean, stress for levels, for the one thing, is just one of the biggest use of this soul scanner. So you don't have to be professional. You don't have to know how to do it. You just have to let the system guide you, because you can scan yourself. It tells you what you need, and then you play it.
It's interesting, too, because we are 70 to 90% water. And like when we started the show, Elizabeth was explaining how Dr. Yamato used words speaking into water, and it affected the way the water froze. You beautiful crystals or ugly crystals. Mm-hmm. So what Elizabeth just got finished saying to you folks was this: if you get up in the morning and you tell yourself, oh crap, I hate today, I don't want to deal with today, and you're already telling your body to respond to the negativity that you're speaking out of your mouth. So when we're saying the affirmations, when you record the affirmations into the system and then we send them to you, you're hearing your own voice say, today, I'm not going to dwell on anything negative. Today, it's just like when any kind of goal setting, you write it down, only this time you're speaking it into yourself. And I have to kind of say something here. I'm a God person, okay? There's a lot of people out here who give a hoot about God. But I am a God person. So the more that I learn about this stuff, the more amazing I think his creation is. Mm-hmm. And I think we are number uno with regard to what he created. And so, it's like herbs. They grow out of the ground, but they're good for your body, okay? They grow out of dirt, but they're good for your body. So you have to kind of give God credit for what he did, and the fact that we have a digital world now where we can take advantage of this. He's revealing all that quantum information to all of us. And sure enough, wouldn't you know it, he built something in that helps get our bodies back in sync with. They're actually, if I remember reading something that Lauren said, it helps get your frequency back to the Earth's frequency, which is 6 point whatever it is. And all kinds of things are corrected when our frequencies are restored. Now, you talk about Dr. Lauren, who started all of this. Give us a little bit of information about him and what you've learned.
Well, he's not a doctor.
That's right. Yeah.
He's a genius. I mean, I really, really respect this guy. When he adopted a boy that had cerebral palsy, and when the boy got about 7 years old, it was really getting apparent that he was struggling. And so Lauren had the wherewithal, the financial wherewithal, to travel the world to find something to help him, because there's nothing in the United States. And he came across 3 different modalities that he built into, basically was the theta chamber. This isn't the scanner. This part of our scanner is in that theta chamber. But that theta chamber, I know that clinics have it. We have a clinic up in Bellevue that has one of these theta chambers. And he used these different modalities on his son. And now his son is in his 40s with absolutely no sign of cerebral palsy. He's a black belt, and he speaks several languages. So this guy discovered that, and on his travels this is how he learned about the frequencies. He found this is basically Russian technology.
And they gave up on this technology.
They gave up on it, yeah.
Right.
It was used in the Russian space system, but the Russians had this technology. He licensed it. They gave up on it, and he further developed it. And probably maybe several years ago, I'm not sure exactly when, a lot of practitioners were using his original system. And the system that they were using in the practice ran $38,000 is what it was. Yeah. And now we have the system, and we can do it on our cell phone, because all it is we're running his software. And it's just amazing. And they keep on. I love the company too, because they're very expansive. They don't think, okay, we have our own little technology, you can't use anything else. They welcome new ideas, and they have other frequency devices. There's one behind me, is the terahertz wand. Terahertz is the frequency of a human cell. It's between microwave and infrared, I believe. It's a frequency.
It is infrared.
Healthy human cell. And so you can run this wand over your body, over your body meridians and your acupuncture points, and start bringing balance. And amazing testimonies with that. I use the frequency wand to structure my water. So I have reverse osmosis water. I add in minerals, and then I wand over the water for 3 minutes. And it structures the water, and the water is just smooth. I remember I gave you some of that, and right away you said,
I remember.
Yeah.
And there are things now where you can put on your water line. Moen has developed. Is it Moen? I can't remember who. No, somebody else, and I know who it was. You can put a device on your water line coming into your house that structures your water, and structured water is probably the most healthiest water you can drink. Mm-hmm. So now, anyway, with this whole scanning thing and this whole frequency thing, we can put the what do you call them? I can't ever say the name, on your head.
Yeah, the bone transducer headsets.
Yeah. Or how else can we do it? Explain to them how we can do it if they're not in our area.
Okay, it can be done virtually anywhere with just a 10-second voice clip. And it's not 100%. Even our blood tests are not 100%. But basically, all you have to do is leave a voicemail for me or over the phone. And with that 10-second voice clip, it reads the frequencies, and it does the same work remotely. And then I can send the frequencies remotely. How that's done is you set up a profile in the system that's unique to the person you're scanning. So you need your name, you need your date of birth, height, weight, picture, and email. And basically, you're the only one in the world that has that profile. Right. And like a cell phone, there's only one cell phone in the world that has that cell phone number. You dial that number, it goes to the cell phone. And so when we have the profile of the person up and we see the frequencies and we want to send correct frequencies, I just bring up the profile of the person, and then I just send the frequencies to them remotely. This is all quantum. Quantum. Again, I can't explain quantum. It just is how it works. And it works. Yeah.
Well, I want to mention too that this is I have to pay a fee every month to have this information, to have both the scanner, to have all the equipment. I had to buy a little like a little iPad thing. And then I have to pay for this every month. So there are fees associated with doing this. Now, I want to say something to the audience based on all the information Elizabeth has just pointed out. Everything costs money. Okay, it just does. So I would much rather see a person restoring the frequencies in their body than laying in a hospital bed getting charged $10,000 a day. Now, in a moment, we're going to put a disclaimer up here because we have to do that, because we're not claiming that it's going to heal you. And I'm not saying that it is either. I'm saying that there are tools in creation that God made available to humankind to learn about. What we did is we manipulated things, which is what we always do. And a lot of times, I'm not saying all medicines are bad, okay? But all side effects are. Every side effect you can think of is bad because it destroys your immune system. It's actually, once you have a side effect, your immune system is fighting the side effect, okay? This is stuff that gets a little technical. I don't want to do that. But when we scan you, there is a fee. Elizabeth would be more than happy to go through that with you. She has an email where you can contact her. We're going to put that email up on the screen. You can contact her, and I'm encouraging you. This is really what I want to say. We have been, for 80 years, conditioned to run to the pharmacy to get our medicines after going to a doctor. A doctor is going to give you prescriptions to manage your issue. How many of you, let me ask you, how many of you have gone to the doctors, taken a pill, and been cured?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the same kind of thing. They can't say that this is going to cure you. We can't say that this is going to cure you. We can say we want to give you something other than a pill. And there is technology being born in the world as far back as Einstein that does that. Elizabeth, you want to elaborate on that?
Well, God made these frequencies. That's what I keep on realizing, that we have to give credit to God for this. And it's not New Age. It's New Age just distorts and takes credit for something that God created. And that's why I just so blown away by all the knowledge that's increasing and how we can use this knowledge now to better ourselves. The trees of the field, the trees are made for the healing of the nations. And every herb has its own frequency. That's how homeopathies work. And I just think it's amazing that we have this tool. I've used this. I guess part of the thing I really want to talk about is that because the scan uses just a voice or even a sound or even a scream, it can read what's going on in the body. And it's so important for autism. People with autism who don't have a voice, this can be their voice. I use this with my nephew. And he's 31 years old. He has Down syndrome and autism. And he went through a real horrible time with COVID. And he was in the hospital, almost died. And he was struggling, and he couldn't express himself. And we didn't know really what was going on. And so I started doing scanning on him, and I started detecting emotions in there that he couldn't express, that I started sending balancing frequencies to. I also detected that he was in a lot of pain. The scan was showing a lot of problems with the spine. My sister said, well, doesn't say anything about it. I said, well, he can't. And so finally they started taking him to a chiropractor. Now he's working with a specialist there who is working with his fascia, his tissue. We store so much in our tissue, our emotions in our tissue, and he's releasing it. He's getting stronger. His posture is coming back. This scan in a family that has an autistic child is just life-changing. And it's not just for the child, it's for the whole family. If one of the kids are sitting there with banging their head, screaming, and not knowing how to express themselves, this scan can unlock a lot what's going on and help the whole family come into balance. And
you also, a mutual friend of ours who live in Idaho, talk about their dog. Because that to me, she called me, she was blown away.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about it.
This poor dog, was in pain. They took him to the vet, and the vet saw that the dog's bowels were twisted, did the surgery on the dog, and basically sent it home. And it was not responding. It wasn't recovering. It wouldn't eat, wouldn't even take the syringe feedings. And the vet said, the dog's going to die. He wouldn't even take out these stitches. And so it said he's in renal failure. The dog's in renal failure. And so I started just looking at the frequencies that I had available to me for renal failure. frequencies for appetite stimulation and then wound healing. And so I was running those through the day, for maybe one set of frequencies, and then I'd go to the next one, and then I'd go to the next one. It went about 3 weeks. That dog now is totally recovered and is healthy and back doing its work. The only other thing we did was prayer and an herbal tincture that I suggested and probiotic. And that dog came back to life, started gaining the weight back, and is a vibrant, healthy dog again. So, what did it? I don't know, but I think we were a part of it. I think
you were part of it too, because the owner of the dog, who was very health conscious and a naturopath, she actually wants to do this. There's an issue preventing her from really going full forward with this, but at the same time, she credited what you did to help her dog. I remember when that dog was a puppy. I've never met him, but I've watched them on Facebook in their lives. She was so excited, and she gave I think she gave all the credit to the scans that you were doing. And then, of course, we've been talking about your nephew for a long time. It's made a huge difference, but it also made the family aware of things that he couldn't express.
Right.
And that was simply because of the printout that you were getting from what the scan was telling you. Now, Elizabeth, I'm going to ask you to do something. I want you to speak to the folks out there about why they're people are resistant to this kind of technology. And I think it's because we've been programmed to the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, every third commercial is a new pill that you can't pronounce. But people are resistant to change. I mean, we know that, particularly in America. America's got so much abundance that we don't, I just take 2 aspirin and call it a day. But and I know that there's alternatives out there. How do you reach the people that are hearing this, that are going to watch this, to say, listen, there's another way? What do you say?
Well, it is a hard barrier to break through. And I'm not always successful. Some people really get it, and some people just don't. I think part of it is, you said resistance to change. I know that there's these wonderful frequency patches that are out there on the market. They're a wonderful product, and a lot of our practitioners use both systems. And people accept these patches, which is a frequency going into their body, because it's a physical thing that that they can see and feel. And so they accept it. Or if they take a pill, it's a physical thing. But the frequencies, just that something coming through the air to me, how do I get it? Do I get it in an email, whatever? I said, no, you're just like a radio receiver, and I'm sending it to you. It's very hard concept, but I don't think it's going to. I think more and more as science evolves and as people are hearing about it, I think more and more people will start accepting that this is a real thing and can really help. And also just try it and just see. There's nothing to lose. It's not invasive. It's not expensive. I mean, my scans, I don't charge an arm and a leg. I'm very moderate because I want people introduced to it. Having the system in your home is very inexpensive. It's like they always say, it's less than a cup of coffee a day. It's probably even less than that. And you can have this whole system, and I can teach you how to use it in your home.
And you can scan other people and see for yourself how this works.
The scan, what's so cool about it is it doesn't mean that you scan one person. The whole system is a monthly subscription, and I can scan as many people as I want, as many times as I want, as many cats or dogs or whatever. I can even send frequencies to homes. It's an amazing thing, and it's just a monthly thing. And you can, like I said, you can do it on any newer tablet or cell phone.
So for me, folks, what I'm hoping to do is I want to do 5 to 6 people a month, and because I want to stay with 5 or 6 people for about 6 months, to just kind of see the process and watch the things happen. So for me, scanning you, yeah, I'm going to charge you, and I really recommend that you do. In fact, I'm learning that you should do 3 scans because remember, Elizabeth, when we were talking about this originally, it's not only scanning your frequencies, but it's picking up the frequencies of your family members. And explain that. Tell the folks a little bit about that.
Well, it's called entrainment. We pick up, you go into a room and everybody's angry or they're fighting. You pick up that frequency. You go into a room where everybody's at peace. There's beautiful music. You pick up that frequency. And when you're, let's say, in a family situation and the scan shows anger, and your scan is like, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Well, is somebody angry around you? I mean, your coworker, your wife, somebody out there, did somebody just cut you off in the road? You can do that. You pick up these frequencies and it can start balancing that out. And that's why I always say there's this old saying, if mommy ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If somebody in the family ain't happy, the whole family is affected by that. And you can send frequencies to your entire family. Start bringing some balance into that. Yeah.
You also, when you do the first scan, there's going to be, it'll pick up your relatives. It'll pick up other things. Yeah. Your parents, your parent might be dead, but because you're connected to them genetically, it might pick up their frequencies that are in you, that kind of thing. Yeah. Explain that too.
Oh, there's DNA. It's embedded in your DNA. Our emotions get embedded, and our traumas get embedded in DNA. There's a thing in homeopathy called miasms, and miasms are basically, it's a term talking about the propensity to a particular set of illnesses. So if you have a cancer miasm, gonorrhea miasm, syphilis miasm, you'll have a tendency towards particular diseases because somebody in your family line had gonorrhea, syphilis, or cancer. And so those can all be cleared through frequencies of these miasms. Doesn't mean you have it when it shows up in your scan. We can walk past somebody who has had the jabby thing. And we can pick up the frequency of somebody who has had that. And
the jabby thing.
The jabby thing, yeah.
Okay, folks, he's talking about the jab, the COVID virus, and all this kinds of stuff. My thing with all of this, and one of the reasons why I'm going to do 2 shows, is Elizabeth has spent an extensive amount of time putting information on her website, and I encourage you to go to frequenciesmatter.com. And I encourage you too to pick up the phone or send her an email and do a scan and learn for yourself. I'm really encouraging you to do that. Now, keep in mind, there is a fee. We're not going to talk about fees here on the show because she charges something different than I'm going to charge. But you have to learn, and don't be afraid to learn. I find one thing in the Christian audience, I'll say this to the Christian audience, there's things such as chakras and what are they, Elizabeth? The chakras, people go, oh my God, that's voodoo. We got to run away from that. That's witchcraft. Actually, pharmakia in Greek is the word for it, where we get pharmaceutical. And it actually does mean witchcraft.
That's crazy, yeah.
Well, so when we're...
Yeah, in our system, for our system's purposes, we do chakras and meridians. They can all be measured. I mean, this is Eastern medicine. Just because it's Eastern doesn't mean it's, bad, demonic. It's Eastern. It's different than Western. But all these chakras and meridians are basically our wiring in our body, our electrical wiring, and they can all be mapped out. The chakras are basically like the circuit breakers in our wiring, where things get stuck. And the system shows our electrical frequencies, the wiring and the circuit breakers, and where we're stuck. And those all can be addressed with frequencies. And, there's a man who does amazing work with frequencies, and he goes on to say, he said, when we give New Age credit for all these things like chakras, meridians, frequencies, energy medicine, we're actually taking away from the glory of God, because God was the one that invented it. He was the one that created it. And it was sabotaged. It was counterfeited by the other side.
No. We've got just about 5 minutes to go, folks. I want to let you know that there's so much information that we couldn't tap in today. What I was hoping Elizabeth would do was do an introductory as to what the Solex company has offered, and to give you a little bit of testimony about how it's helped her, and to also encourage you to call her or get in touch with her and prove it for yourself. Now, I know there's a lot of folks out there that are having a tough time financially, but I would much rather have your frequencies restored in your body than to have you sitting in a hospital bed paying $10,000 a day. Just consider it. Of course, we cannot claim that this is going to heal you, but at least, for God's sakes, give him the glory and find out what he created. And I often say this: King David and King David and Henry Ford, and even the gentleman who did the Solex stuff, they all had the ability to do the same thing. It's just that God hadn't released the information to mankind, and we hadn't discovered the way he's done things. And I don't care how you call science. If you call science anything, science is the study of what God did. Bottom line, okay? That's the bottom line. I mean, I stand on that. Elizabeth, we got 4 minutes left. I'll give you the last word.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned King David. You remember the Bible story where King Saul was troubled, and so he'd bring David, the shepherd boy, in to play the harp for him, and it calmed him. David understood frequencies. That's what was going on with his harp music. And everything so correlates back. Everything makes so much sense when you start opening your mind to what things actually are and what can be, and the amazing creation we have. Everything starts making a lot more sense than just going in, taking a pill, walking through your day. There's ways for us to come back into balance and start getting unstuck in our life. And that's why I just love being able to use this system. I feel so blessed with it.
Why don't you give the folks one more time your email address and how they can contact you and your website? Okay.
Well, frequencies matter. So just remember, frequencies matter. Frequenciesmatter.com or info@frequenciesmatter.com. I don't put my phone number on my website because I really don't want it out there, just for safety purposes. but you can reach me at info@frequenciesmatter.com, and I'm very responsive. And then you can have my phone number. We can talk.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, because there are people that, if I put my phone number out there, folks, there are people out there that will call me and harass me forever. It just doesn't happen, okay? Anyway, Elizabeth Smatlak, I want to thank you for taking the time this hour to come on, bring your information forward. And I'm really, really encouraging people, go ahead and contact Elizabeth. If you're suffering from any kind of issue, give her a call, talk to her, and set up a time for her to go ahead and do this. Again, we are not the professionals, so we're not charging an arm and a leg, but we're going to charge you something. And because we have to. I mean, we just have to. The bottom line is, she's come on today. Elizabeth's been talking about this for a long time. Because I understood it, I jumped right on it. And then, I had to take a hiatus for a little bit because of some financial issues that my wife and I were dealing with. But Elizabeth, thank you so very much for coming on and doing this. Yeah. You're going to get a recording of this, and you can I'll send you the file. You can put it on your website, do whatever you want with it. It's yours to keep and manage however you want. And thank you so much.
The exposure of this wonderful technology.
All right, folks. There you go. It's called Solex Nation. What's the name of the company?
Solex LLC.
Solex, that's spelled Solex LLC. And that video about his son, you can find on their homepage. That'll
And
blow your mind, folks.
Too. You can find it on my website. Just check out how frequencies work, and the videos on there about his son.
All right, folks. Next week, we're going to have Dawn Nelson on. She's going to bring the other side of this because she does this in her practice. This is Jeff with Let's Talk About It. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.